every day for Kia. I'm your girl Kia. I cannot express enough how long I've been waiting for this video to come. This is like a dream come true. I've always wanted to do a video like this. In this video, I have 14 people, including myself, who either have mental illnesses or not. There's a few questions that they answer. You know, the day-to-day, what their mental illnesses they have, what are their strengths, how do they cope with it. Many questions I feel like we can relate to. I really want to do this video because I feel like with mental health, I say we come to a society right now, I guess it's kind of progressing. We're doing what we can to spread awareness and stuff like that. But mental health is not a joke. It is serious. It's a serious matter, and I feel like we need to do what we can to make sure that people know that you are not alone and that we could fight this. We have to remain strong. We got to continue to do what we have to do. So in this video, I have 14 people, including myself, to answer these questions. And I hope that you guys take something from it. I hope that you guys learn something. I hope that you guys just feel lifted and inspired from this video. This video cannot happen if it wasn't for my loves who's in this video. I love every single one, even for my loves who want to be in this video or don't like videoing. Please contact me. There's other ways that you could be involved. Even those people who wanted to be in it but couldn't submit their video in time. You guys do not go unnoticed. I cannot be the person I am today doing what I do on my channel without my loves, you watching. And I want to say to people who was in this video, I want to say that I appreciate and love you all so much. This video cannot happen without you guys. You guys have a soul in this heart. With your voice, just continue to speak up for yourselves and let the next person know that you are not defined by your mental illness. We're not defined by mental illness. Every day, we are going through something. People are going through something you know nothing about. And this video goes beyond just mental health. For my channel, if you're wondering what I do, what it's about, I like to motivate people. I like to motivate and inspire people. I love everyone. I have a big heart. I realize what my heart and voice is for, so I'm using it to make a difference in the world. I just want people to know all of us can make a change, a difference in this world. It takes one act of kindness a time, a day, a minute. Tell someone you have a nice smile, I love your hair. You know, you get through it. Never stoop down to people's level. If we could do that, just see how much this world would change. Just a bunch more of kindness, spreading positivity and peace. We all deserve happiness. But the thing is, to make a change, it starts with you, yourself. You cannot make a change, be light in somebody's eyes, or put happiness in someone's life if you are not happy with yourself. It starts with you. So if you are lost, if you are stuck, I tell you from here on out to find yourself, love yourself within, and then from there to do what you can to make sure that you are in peace, that you are doing what you can to make the people around you in a better mood, mentally and physically. I do what I can to make sure the people around me is loved and valued and appreciated. I do what I can to educate those that it's up to us to make this world a better place. So, I tell you today, this video is long. It is long, so grab your popcorn. Learn something new. For anyone there who do make fun of people who have certain mental illnesses, I want you to know that it's a battle for us every single day. But it's a battle that we will not give up. It's a battle that we face and fight every single day just to get up, even in the morning, just to brush our teeth, just to look in the mirror and remember who we are. So I want you to take something from this video. And for those people out there who do make fun of other people, when are you going to stop hurting yourself? This video meant a lot to me, and I want to thank you for tuning in and watching. I can't express enough how much love I have for you watching. I can't express enough how much everyone's life means to me. I'm not going to stop. This is my happiness. So you guys, my loves, enjoy. Enjoy.
Hi, my name is Drew. I wanted to talk about how depression and anxiety has affected me. I have anxiety. Growing up in a Mexican household, it's kind of hard to talk about it, so you kind of grow up pretending you don't have an issue. My mom growing up had depression, and she always told me that it was something you just had to beat. She decided not to take her medication because she wanted to be a better mother to us, myself and my two brothers. I don't see it being easy. She hid it for a lot of years. I didn't find out until my 20s that she struggled with this. Growing up, I had a lot of friends that also had depression / anxiety, or even both. I have friends who dealt with it in a positive manner, went to the doctor, had insurance, got their medication and dealt with it. I had friends who chose to drink and do drugs, and I saw how it really affected them. They'd be in their room for days, not wanting to go out, not doing anything. For weeks, I thought they weren't even there. Now that I'm in a relationship with someone who suffers from depression and anxiety, I've learned different ways to deal with it. You can't just simply tell them to grow up or stop being sad. Everything's gonna be okay. Believe me, they know that, and it's something they can't shake. Sometimes it takes a whole day, sometimes it takes a week, sometimes it takes 15 minutes, and sometimes it's a big deal, and sometimes it isn't. You have to be patient with it, and it's a learning curve the entire way. It never gets easier. So don't judge people who have it. They're already having a hard enough time going through it, without you saying your smart remarks and grow up and stop being sad and so. So treat them like you'd want to be treated. I feel that that's a pretty general enough statement that we should all know. Be nice to people. Treat them how you want to be treated.
Hi Kaya, thanks for letting me partake in your little project on your channel. I'm just gonna go straight into the questions because if I end up babbling on, then it's never going to end. So yeah. So the first question is, what is your mental illness and how long have you had it? Well, I am diagnosed with various things. I am diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, major depressive disorder, general anxiety disorder, and within all of those illnesses, there is a lot of symptoms that also include other mental illness diagnoses or like symptoms, like with a lot of those I experience a lot of eating disorder symptoms and stuff like that. But yeah, so I've had major depression since I was about 12 years old or 11 years old. I've been dealing with anxiety and panic attacks since I was about 7 or 9 years old. So yeah, pretty much my whole life. It's been a journey. The second question is, how do you feel when people make fun of your mental illness? So I've never really been open about my mental illness symptoms when I was in high school because I didn't even know that I had mental illness or any kind of symptoms or disorders that were out of the ordinary. To me, that was just kind of normal. But once I started going to college and later in college when I kind of started getting more familiar with how I worked, there were people who I felt did distance themselves and did judge me, especially for even just being open about it and wanting to talk about it on social media, or my Facebook videos and stuff like that. The things people usually say is just that, people are open about these things for attention, or that I might be crazy or I'm unstable, or and the way that it makes me feel, it takes a long time to really accept myself. It took a long time to accept myself, and I'm still working on that. But I think that people are always going to say what they want to say, and sometimes it is upsetting because the things people say do affect my relationships or do affect people's perspectives of me without actually getting to know me. And that's really disappointing because, you know, it's normal for people to hear one thing about someone and assume that it's right without actually getting to know the person. And especially as someone with mental health and like mental health issues and, you know, chronic illness, I deal with these symptoms every day, and they affect my relationships and they affect my daily functioning. And when people do, I don't want to say make fun of my mental illness, but when they do have negative perspectives or negative comments about whatever it is I deal with, like, it's discouraging. And, you know, I'm only human and I can only take so much, or I can only say so much to defend myself, but that's on them if they want to say these things. The third question is, what change do I want to see what change do I want to see regarding mental illness and how society perceives people with mental illness? I would really love to see acceptance and understanding, and in a perfect world that would exist overnight, or in a perfect world that would even exist in the next few years. But I mean, I grew up personally not even understanding what mental illness was. I didn't believe in depression. I thought that if you were sad, that you just got up, went outside, ate ice cream, did something to make yourself feel better, and you were fine. And I didn't even know that I was a person who was suffering with those kinds of things. So I think I would love to see more education on it. There's one thing to spread awareness about mental illness, whether it be depression, schizophrenia. There's just, check out the DSM-5. If you don't know what that is, Google it, because there's a lot of things that, there's a lot of resources that people don't know actually exist regarding mental illness and treatment and diagnosis and all that stuff, but I won't get into that right now. But I definitely want to see more education. I want to see more people in their relationships and their everyday lives being active about being there for people who struggle with, you know, their everyday illnesses or everyday symptoms. That can look like a lot of things, like just being like, hey, are you doing okay? Like, is it okay if I talk to you? Is it okay if I blah, blah, blah? Like, yeah, it's just, I think there's a lot more to awareness than just sharing a hashtag or sharing a post. And then a lot of it, I think, is sharing your story. And I'm very open to sharing my story. It's not easy. It's not easy for a lot of people, and I'm assuming most people. It's a movement that's still active, and it's something that I really want to see more people get involved in. The last question is, what would I want to tell people about my strengths? And I guess this is more, I feel like the way I take this question is, what would I want to tell people regarding advocating for myself, regardless, in terms of, you know, having a mental illness and still coming off as a person who's pretty high functioning. What I would like to tell people about my strengths, I think I'm pretty good at being resilient. I know that sounds really cliche, and especially if you are a person with chronic illness, you know what resilience means. But I'm not gonna lie, like, it's easy for me to hide it. Like, I mean, it's not easy, but I can hide it and mask my symptoms and what I experience pretty well. And this can look like isolation. It can also kind of look like mania, where I just look extremely happy. But I mean, I know a lot of people also experience things like this. I would like to tell people that I'm still here, and unfortunately and sadly, I do have experience losing close people to suicide and to and I have supported a lot of people through hard times regarding the symptoms and the feelings that they feel with their mental illnesses. And I just would like to say, like, I'm still here, you're still here, and every day alive is still a victory on its own. People don't really realize how hard it is for people who do struggle with who struggle with these things, how hard it is to even go outside and do daily activities. They don't know the struggle. So I would just like to say, be gentle with everyone. You don't know what everyone's experiencing. We don't live in a perfect world, but if you can be a part of the difference, then go out and do that. But yeah, I'd like to think my strengths are in my passion to help people and to educate people and just open up the conversation about mental illnesses and things like that. So yeah, like I said, I am diagnosed with borderline personality, PTSD, major depressive disorder, panic, and anxiety. And on some of my medical records, it also has bipolar disorder, but I haven't, like, I've had so many doctors, it's just it's all over the place. But yeah, the main diagnosis and disorder that affects my daily living is my borderline personality disorder, which is, for me, the way I experience it, very unstable moods. I go from being very manic, so I'm just like on top of the world, I'm like really energetic, really happy, to extremely depressed, and this can happen in a matter of hours, minutes. This could happen in a matter of like weeks or even months. So it's really unpredictable and it's really difficult to deal with. But yeah, there's a lot more to borderline personality disorder, but those are probably the mood swings and the instability of my disorder is probably the hardest thing to deal with. So yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to talk to people and kind of share my story. But yeah, if you need help editing this or if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, and thank you so much for this opportunity again. I'll talk to you soon.
What's your mental illness and how long have you had it? So I've been diagnosed with severe depression, severe social anxiety, PTSD. None of my things have happened since a young age. I am transgender, female to male, so that means I was born female and I have transitioned over 10 years now almost to become male, taking hormones. And you know, I was a very happy child, I was very outgoing and so on, and it came up to the point where I was not accepted by my family, coming out to them, that I really started showing signs of depression and anxiety and like really secluding myself and having that self-harm. And when I came out to my parents, it was a very difficult time. It was probably one of the hardest things I've ever been through. And I think that's just what really brought on those feelings, which then led to having PTSD from things that have happened after my coming out. So yeah, a lot of people think that someone with mental illness, or all people with mental illness, are born with it, which a lot of people are. But some people, you know, it's definitely created by a very bad situation. What do you want to change how society sees people with a mental illness? I find society sees people with a mental illness as people that are dangerous, people that are unstable, people that aren't normal. I would like society to know that none of us asked to have a mental illness, whether it be something we've had since birth or something that has been caused by an unfortunate event. None of us has asked for this life. So I think society just needs to see us all as human beings and just people that maybe feel a little too hard, or you know, I think society just needs to see us as normal human beings and treat us like normal human beings. Just because, you know, you have that friend that's having a bad day and they don't want to leave their dark room, or that friend that has massive anxiety disorder and wants to leave a group of people because they're feeling a panic attack. Come on, we're all human beings.
So I have been diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and that's something that's haunted me for quite literally years. I've had depression for probably a decade now, so that's fun. But people have made fun of me because of it in the past, because of me not being able to do certain things, because of it like triggering me, or like me having to leave certain situations and them just not understanding. And that does take a toll on my mental health, because I kind of just want everybody that surrounds me and is in my life to be able to understand me and like accept me for who I am. So those sorts of people aren't actually in my life anymore, which I'm very grateful for, because that is not something that I want to surround myself with, because it's not healthy and it's not helpful. So yeah, I think society is changing in a lot of ways, and mental health is not becoming so taboo, and like people are opening up to like the struggles that they're having, and people are being able, I don't really know how to phrase it, people are like more accepting of it nowadays. But I also do feel like that because of the fact that mental health issues are so spoken about, people have like this almost competition to see who feels worse, who has had like worse experiences, who've had the worst lives and stuff like that. And I don't think that's healthy. But I think so I would try and I think I don't know how to phrase it. I feel like that is something I would definitely want to change about society, because I do feel like people are a lot more accepting nowadays. But I still think there's a long way to go, and I do think that mental health and anxiety especially have become almost like a trend, and people say they have anxiety even when they don't. So that is also something I would like to change, because it kind of makes the people who are diagnosed with that, like, it kind of like I don't know how to say it, like it kind of makes the people who are diagnosed like not as important and respected, if that makes sense. That's a really bad way to phrase it. But yeah, I do think that taking away the fact that people who don't have mental illness, I think a lot of people in society, like I think a lot of people see people with mental illnesses as like being weak and stuff. And if anything, in my opinion, people with a mental illness are actually stronger. Like people with mental, oh my god, I can't talk. In my opinion, people who have a mental illness are actually stronger than people who don't. I know that's a weird thing to say, but they've got a lot more to overcome, and like even them leaving the house some days, it's more of a struggle than people without one would understand. So obviously, like as somebody who has experienced stuff like that, I do think that I might be stronger than a person who hasn't ever had those sorts of struggles. So I don't know, that's a bit controversial. You might agree with me, you might disagree with me, but that's just my opinion. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to be on your video. I really hope that this goes well, and I hope it turns out the way you want to. So yeah.
Okay, so the first question is, when people make fun of you because of your mental illness, how does it make you feel? So generally speaking, I would say that doesn't really happen a whole lot, but if it did, I'd say that it probably reflects more on them than it does on me. So I guess if anything, I would just feel sorry for them. Second question is, what's your illness and how long have you had it? I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety when I was 12, so it's been a little over a decade. What's something you want to change about how society sees people with mental illness? Okay, I wish that people understood that depression and anxiety are actual illnesses, and if people could just snap themselves out of it, they would. What do you want to tell others about your strength and defining others because of their illness? I would say that if you are bashing someone's mental state, you should probably check your own, because only hurt people, you know?
Key, yo, what's up, girl? I love the idea that you have about doing a video on mental illness and mental health. As someone who's been affected by a mental illness for a lot of his life, I'm inspired to contribute to this, and I'm happy to jump right into these questions. First of all, at a very young age, I was diagnosed with severe anxiety. And if you've never had severe anxiety or never had, anxiety, it's pretty much like feeling like your brain is going 200 miles per hour all the time when it doesn't need to. You consistently overthink things. High stressful situations can negatively affect the way that you respond to them. If you consistently feel like you're out of place, even though you're right there where you need to be. Even personally for me, if in high stressful situations, when it gets to be too much, I might be prone to full-on panic attacks, which is I'm hyperventilating, completely losing track of my body. My brain is going 300 miles per hour, and I have to mentally pump the brakes and tell myself that I'm okay, I'm in a safe place, and I gotta keep myself contained. And that can be very, very difficult when you're sitting there feeling like you're losing your mind. Now, then the other question you asked me was, how does it feel when people make fun of you for your mental illness? It's actually kind of weird with people with anxiety. Anybody with real, like, severe anxiety will tell you that when people make fun of you for having severe anxiety, it's pretty much beating a dead horse. Because people with anxiety are pretty much already beating themselves up for how they're seen to other people, you know? We always feel out of place, you know? We always feel like we're either giving too much of ourselves or too little, you know? We're always feeling like we're overthinking things. So I've always been known as a weird guy. Take that, for example. I've always been cool, but I've been known as a weird guy. And I already think of myself as a weird guy before people even make that preconceived notion. You know, so it's pretty much like beating a dead horse. It's really difficult to convince somebody with anxiety that there's this and that wrong with them because you're making fun of them, because they already know. People with anxiety are usually the first ones that are aware of their own, you know what I'm saying, malfunctions before anybody has to tell them, you know. On to that point, you should never make fun of anybody for any reason. You never know the negative energy that you could be putting out there in the world, and you never know what type of negative influence that you can have on somebody by making fun of them or having that type of negative energy towards them. The next question you asked was, how do we make it a little bit more normal for mental health and mental illness in society? Talk about it more. Seriously. Mental health is exactly what it says it is. It's mental health. The way that we interact with ourselves, the way we interact with everybody on a day-to-day basis, that is mental health. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of feel like a lot of people that, you know, if you've never been affected by mental illness, you're not inspired to really go out there and learn about it. Read the DSMs. Read different booklets about different mental health issues. You can recognize these things to people on a day-to-day basis and not ever even realize that this person might have been experiencing certain symptoms because you've never looked up on it. I feel like a lot of people that aren't affected by mental illness don't go and look it up unless it has to do with school. You know, and then another way to make it a little more normal is make it a priority. Like I said, mental health is exactly what it says it is. Mental illness affects so many more people than you realize. You know what I'm saying? There can be people walking around that behave a certain way, that have a mental illness, but don't even realize they have a mental illness. You know what I'm saying? And the same way we talk about topics like politics or sports or money or music, all that stuff, we should be able to talk about mental health the same way. Another question you asked was, what's a way that it defines you? What's a strength that defines you with a mental illness? I look at it another way. You know, I have severe anxiety, so I'm consistently worried about how I'm seen through the eyes of other people. You know, consistently feeling like I gotta keep myself in certain boundaries, you know what I'm saying, to not come off a certain way, you know, or even in a more practical sense. In high stressful situations that may not seem stressful to other people, I have to remind myself that I'm okay, that it's not as bad as it seems, that this situation that we're going through right now is nowhere near as destructive as my brain is telling me that it is. So to me, I see it as a challenge. It's people, to me, with my anxiety, I feel like it's made me a stronger person with dealing with more stressful situations, because stressful situations that aren't that stressful seem way more stressful in my mind as it is. And that's just something that defines me. It defines me as a person. I'm a resilient person. I've been through a lot in my life. I'm sure a lot of you have been through a lot of your life too. And a lot of you can consider yourselves resilient. Having anxiety is one thing that really kind of puts the stone to the grindstone there. Like it's something that you're consistently worried about, consistently fighting against, you know, and that makes it better for you to respond to stressful situations. So all in all, I'm Jeremiah. I've been diagnosed with severe anxiety since I was a very, very young kid. You know, it's always kind of affected different ways. Anxiety affects people in so many different ways. You know what I'm saying? And having it on a severe, like, clinical basis can really, it can really alter how you respond to certain things. So I'm happy that you're making this video on mental illness. Like I said, everybody, take mental health seriously. Mental illnesses affects everybody, whether you have one or you know somebody with one. Read up on mental illnesses, and as always, have good energy that you put out there in the world. Take it easy.
You know, like Kia says all the time, you know, you don't always know what somebody's going through, and everybody has a different wiring in their head. You know, whether it's categorized as a certain, you know, mental disorder or a mental disease, whatever it is, it's real. And the worst thing you could ever do to somebody is discredit the way that they are feeling inside, because you don't know what they've been through. You don't know, you're not in their head. The biggest thing you can do is be patient with them and learn the way that they communicate, because every single person communicates their needs a different way, and they come at it from a different angle. Personally, I grew up in a home daycare. I've seen the way that, you know, children develop, and it's really interesting. You can see a difference between formula-fed children and breastfed children. Formula-fed children, especially when they're infants, are fussier, and they have more, they, spit up more, and, just certain things like that. But through the years, I've seen the different, how children show their needs in different ways, and I can see that in adults as well. But I've worked with several children on the autism spectrum, and they especially have a hard time expressing their needs in particular. And like I said, the biggest thing is to be patient and really work with them and come at it from several different angles, trying to show that you understand and that you're there to help them and that you care about them. Demeaning that person, telling them that they're wrong or they're not doing something right, is not the way to do it. You have to show them, you have to give them freedom enough to figure things out on their own. And if they're really struggling, then you help them, But the biggest thing with any mental disease, anything, that somebody's struggling with, is just to be there for them. Just talk to them. Talk them through it. Be open with them. Have them be comfortable enough to be open with you to share how they're feeling, so that you can come in and help them out. That is the key. Because if you constantly are putting somebody down or telling them that what they're going through isn't real, they will never open up to you. They will never feel worthy of being themselves. That's the biggest thing that you can give somebody, is your time, your attention, and just showing that you care and you love about them. That is number one.
Hey love, hi Miss Kia, it's Kendra from Talking with KJ, and I'm doing this video that you asked me to do, and I want to tell you that it wasn't easy for me to have to go to this emotional place, because that's what I call it, or whatever. So I appreciate you for wanting to do a video on mental illnesses and speak on certain things. I swear that it's just a major topic that I feel like more people should touch on, because it is real out here, and I don't feel as though that everyone understands it, everyone respects it, and everyone really get how deep it is. I'm also doing a video on mental illness, but I'm talking from a different state, because I don't consider myself to, I feel as though I have a mental illness. I just don't feel like it's something that is major as like bipolar. I'm a person who suffers from severe depression, and I'm also a person who has tried to commit suicide several times in my life. And the reason that it's hard for me to touch on this topic is because it brings me back to that place sometimes, on that feeling that I get when I get into my depressive state, and it's not a beautiful feeling. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy or whatever. But I know one of your questions was, do I feel as though people make fun of me for it? Absolutely not. Just up until recently, a lot of people didn't even know I suffered from it that bad because I kept it to myself or whatever. I'm a person who can mask things really well. Like on the outside, I have a bright smiling face, but on the inside, I am like at the top of the building about to jump and screaming for help, but no one can hear me. That's what my insides feel like or whatever. So I was able to mask it for a while. I'm not ashamed of it. I consider myself like a survivor. I consider myself a person who's been through it, still go through it, but understands it and knows how to pull myself back from it or whatever. Because I know what that dark, deep place feels like, I choose not to go back to that place. And in the moment, I feel myself getting weak because it's a comfort there. Because it's safe there. It's comfortable there. Even though I don't like it, I know how to deal with me in that place. But I don't like being in that place because that place is where that silence speaks really loud. And I refuse to let the devil take over my mind and make me feel as though that my life is worth more dead than alive. So in my depressive state, I went through up and down of weight gain and everything. And it came from me not liking my skin tone for being too dark. It came from me for not liking my size, for fat shaming from other people or whatever, or just the world in general, not looking like what the universe said that you're supposed to look like in order to make it, in order to be a wife, or in order to be a businesswoman, or whatever it is to make it, or whatever the image that was put out. I was like, that looks nothing like me. So in my mind, I felt like I would never accomplish that goal. I would never be a mother. I would never be a wife. I would never be that person because I don't look like what society says I should look like. I have tried to commit suicide on 3 different occasions of either like just like not even gonna say what I did, but just things like now when I think of it, I thank God that I didn't. The last time that I tried to do it, I found out a month after I did it that I was almost 3 months pregnant with my daughter. And I was in such a depressive state. I was like, God, why are you trying to give me life when I'm trying to take my own? Why are you trying to give me something that I don't even want? You're giving me life and I don't even want my own. Or whatever. And in that moment, that's when I realized that God was giving me something that I thought that I didn't want, but that I wasn't cherishing. And my daughter is like the light of my life. That I tell people all the time that my daughter saved my life. Because if somebody would have told me in those moments that I was going to be a mother a year later or whatever, I would have told them you's a lie. Ain't no way God is going to bless me with a child because I'm undeserving. I don't appreciate my life. Now I look at it like I was so selfish on some of the things that I was doing because I thought that I was bad then. I thought that in those moments that my life wasn't worth it or whatever. But now I get the pleasure of experiencing something that I helped make grow, and it's the most beautifulest feeling in the world or whatever. When I in the midst of me being pregnant and going through my pregnancy, when I first found out, I slipped back into depression. I was like, this isn't what I want. It wasn't even by a man that I wasn't in a relationship with. I didn't want to be with him or anything or whatever. So it was just so much negative. And I just kept praying and asking God, like, am I supposed to do this? I never once thought about abortion. Never thought about abortion. My thing was I was either going to give my child up to a deserving family. And as I went through the pregnancy, feeling her move and feeling her kicked, that's when I realized that it was meant for me. That's my baby. It was meant for me, or whatever. So I'm not ashamed of my depressive states because I slip back every now and then. I just don't stay in them long. I don't feel that that I have to hide what I used to be or how I was or whatever. I'm very grateful and I'm very thankful. Again, I appreciate you speaking on a topic that I feel is just so needed and so strong or whatever. I'm doing a video on this, as a matter of fact, of depression and all that, and the fact that you asked me to do this video is like I literally had to take a mental week to allow myself to get into those emotions and not fear that I did something wrong, and not fear the backlash of people feeling how they want to feel, because it was my moment and it's my truth, and I live in my truth. So thank you, babes.
I'm Sarah. I have depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder. I've had depression and anxiety since I was 12 and I was diagnosed with PTSD when I was 16. I think that there's a lot that needs to change with how society views mental illness, and I really think that that starts with people just educating themselves on what mental illness is, what are the different mental illnesses, and then just treating it how you would treat anyone else who had an illness, instead of, making fun of that person for it and isolating them and making it seem like something's wrong with them. When I was in middle school, my anxiety was so bad that I couldn't even sit in the lunchroom for lunch. And so I was the only student that was allowed to go home for lunch every day. And I remember I told everyone that I was going home for treatments for my asthma. And I didn't want to tell people I was going home for anxiety because I was afraid people were going to make fun of me. And I just don't understand why it's socially acceptable to go home for lunch for one illness but not the other. So yeah, there's a lot that needs to change with how society views mental illness. And the last thing I want to say is you are not your mental illness, and you shouldn't define other people by it, because it is possible to live a healthy and happy life with mental illness.
Into it. Question one was, how does it feel when people make fun of you with your mental illness? I've actually never had people make fun of me because not so many people know about my illness. I'm not a very expressive person to other people. Therefore, not a lot of people know it, so I pretty much keep it inside me. Only my family really knows, and they're very supportive, so it does help. Diagnosis and length of time. So I'm diagnosed with bipolar 1 disorder. Mixed features. So that means that I have extremely high manic state, and I have extremely low depressed state. I've had depression and anxiety for about 5 or 6 years. That's actually been diagnosed. So I follow up with my doctor and my psychiatrist. But I've been diagnosed with bipolar formally. How would I like to change society's views? Society is an interesting topic. It's very broad, but I will say that not everybody with a mental illness is a bad person. Not everybody with a mental illness is a crazy person. Not everybody with a mental illness cannot not work or function or do things. And I think it's really important that society understands and educates themselves about mental illness and how it affects other people. I mean, have a breakup, you can, postpartum depression is a big thing. Any big major life-changing event can cause a mental illness. I mean, according to NAMI, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, 1 in 4 people have a mental illness. And then I believe in the world, according to World Health Organization, it's 1 in 3 people have a mental illness. So I think the big thing is not putting so much of a stigma on it. We want to erase the stigma, because when you put that nation, it's 1 in 3 people have a mental illness. So I think the big thing is not putting so much of a stigma on it. We want to erase the stigma, because when you put that stigma or you put that label on somebody, you're already creating an image for them, even if it's not them. You know, they could say, oh, I'm a dangerous, crazy person, but really, like, am I? So unless you know me or know my actions or things I've done have affected me in a negative way, you really can't say anything.
Hey guys, I'm sorry for the darkness in the background. It's because I'm doing this video at night. But my name is Jay DePrimido. I'm a music artist from Rome, Georgia, and I'm gonna be answering some questions for Everyday Life with Kaya. So with the first question, I was asked, when people make fun of you because of your illness, how does it make you feel? It makes me feel very, very sad, to be honest. It's like, dang, like, only if these guys knew what I had to go through. And Like, it's just really unexplainable to kind of answer that, because really, if they felt what I felt and if they were in my shoes, I don't think they would laugh. You know, it's just not it's just not something that's funny, you know, because sometimes you have people committing suicide about things like this because they're not taken serious, or people think, you know, it's funny or a joke. Like, it's not funny. So, you know, to everybody out there, please be more aware, and please, you know, show that you care more, because having a mental illness is not funny. It's not something that, you know, people are proud to go through. And yeah, but for the second question, I was asked, what's my illness? How long have you had it? Well, I go through depression, and I go through anxiety, and I go through suicidal thoughts. Those three right there, it's no joke. Depression, you know, with depression, I'm always feeling sad. I'm always feeling down 24/7. And with anxiety, I'm always worrying 24/7. And worrying about, okay, well, what if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? I'm scared of this. I'm scared of that. Blah, blah, this and this. And with suicidal thoughts, it's just not wanting to be here. Like, I'm always having those thoughts of not wanting to be here. What's my purpose for being here? Like, it's just not something that's good. And I've had it for, let me see, about 9 years, going on 9 years, ever since I was 12. And it's ongoing. Like, it just doesn't stop. And yeah, so it's definitely something that you really don't want to go through, and it's terrible. But I have my good days, but I have more, you know, like, living with this it's not fun. Like, just being depressed and having anxiety and, you know, the suicidal thoughts is definitely not fun. And so with the third question, I was asked something you want to change how society sees people with a mental illness. Well, as of right now, most people see people with a mental illness as crazy, or as a different set of people, and then it shouldn't be like that. We all are one. We all should combine and show that we care for one another. We all should spread love. And, you know, like, yes, there's a lot of broken people out here, but the broken ones should not feel like they can't, you know, get love from the people who don't go through these things. So that's what I think. I think this world is so divided and so different that we forget to spread love to the ones who truly need it. So yeah, I feel like we could change that. We need to change that. We need to spread more love. That's why when I make music, I always say spread love, spread love, spread love, spread love, because that's what I'm about. Like, look at me as a person. I've been through it. I go through it on a daily basis, so I know how it is. I know how it is to be, you know, different and you know, looked at as crazy. So I know how it is. I know people look at me like, oh, he's crazy, he goes through this, he goes through that, he goes through this, so, you know, he's not really one of us. No, that's not the case. I'm still a great, amazing guy. I'm still a loving person. I'm very respectful. I have a great character, but I go through things on my own that people do not know about. And, you know, whenever I lash out or whenever I just go crazy, it's not because, oh, well, you know, I'm just mentally, like, ill and just crazy and different. It's because I've never had nobody to talk to. I never had nobody there for me. So I don't really know how to, you know, just come to people and be like, oh, well, can you sit down and talk to me? Because I've never had that. Some people have that. Some people have a great support system. But there's some people out there like me who don't. And, you know, I feel like we need to change that. We're not crazy. People with a mental illness are not crazy. We're very amazing people. We just need people who are there for us and truly care for us. So with the fourth question, I was asked, what do you want to tell others about your strength and defining others because of their illness? I'm very strong. I feel like I'm very strong because, you know, I'm able to go through this and, you know, not go through with some of the things that I feel like I want to do sometimes. Like I said, sometimes I feel like I want to kill myself, honestly. And that's just being honest. but I don't, because I try to look at it like, okay, well, if I do it, this person's going to be missing me, this person's going to be missing me, even though I feel like no one cares about me. But that's really not the case. Deep down inside, I know there's people out there that care about me. My family never really has been there for me, but I know, like, I have strangers and ex-girlfriends out there that love me and stuff. And I know some people want to see me do nothing but strive with this music and just live my life. And I don't want to hurt those people, but deep down inside, I have my own demons, and I continue to fight those every day. And I think that right there can help help others as well. Like, I'm strong. I'm a handsome, strong young man, and I think that right there can really define me as a person, and can also help someone else who's going through the same thing feel like, oh, well, if he can do it, then I can do it. So that's just how I feel about that. And for the fifth question, if someone has a mental illness, can you explain how it made you feel when they were suffering from their illness? Okay, yeah, I know a lot of people that reaches out to me and tells me, okay, well, we go through the same thing. They tell me a lot of they struggle with heartbreaks, like from breakups and suicidal thoughts. And it hurts me, to be honest, because like, no one should ever have to go through all that. But it's life. People gonna go through things. People gonna go through the heartbreaks and all that. So like, it made me feel bad. It made me feel terrible, especially for the ones who always tell me they feel like they don't have anyone. They feel like they want to commit suicide, and I'm just like, dang, don't think like that. Like, you're everything. You're meant to be here. But I understand how they feel at the same time, because I go through it. So it just makes me feel sad when I hear of other people going through things, because I love everyone, and all I want to do is spread love. But I also remember, like, okay, it's a lot of broken people out here. And like, one of my terms is hashtag broken ones. Like, I always ask people to comment hashtag broken ones if you messing with me, or anything, because that's what I go by. I'm a broken one in a world full of broken people. So I go about that. That's one of my words. That's one of my sayings, is broken ones, and hashtag spread love as well. And it's just sad. And I feel like mental illness needs to be recognized more and more and more and more and more. It doesn't never need to fade away, because mental illness is a reason why a lot of people just commit suicide, because they feel like they have no one there. They feel like no one cares, so they feel like, why stay here? And it's sad. But that's pretty much it. For any of you that's going through anything, you can always hit me up, and I'll be there to the best of my ability. I will be there. I've always been that type of person. I need help, but I've always been the type of person to put people before me, because I know, like, I don't know, it's just a different type of feeling when you can help someone else, and just try to understand what they're going through and all that, because I've never had that. If I could have had someone be there for me when I was 12, maybe I'd be different, but it didn't work out like that. So you guys can hit me up. My Instagram is at @jdeprimido, and that's depressed in Spanish, basically. And how you spell that is DEPRIMIDO. So you can also search me up on Spotify, Apple Music, all that, YouTube, all that. I'm here. And if any of you guys need me, like I said, you can always hit me up. But I love you guys, and peace out.
Hi, I'm Brittany, and my illness is PTSD, bipolar 2, and depression and anxiety. When people make fun of me because of my illness, I honestly feel like I'm getting bullied. I really, really do. like I'm back in school again. And I shouldn't feel like that, but it does. But I try to walk away from that feeling so I don't feel as bad. Really just judging a book by its cover all the time. Like, soon as they find out I'm bipolar, they walk on their tiptoes, and I'm like, stop. You don't need to do that with me. Don't judge me. Do not do that kind of stuff to me, because I'm human as just as much as you are. What I want to tell others is accept it. Just accept what you are. And it's okay. You will learn to live with it, and it will all work out. It's for the greater good. Your illness does not define who you are.
Hi guys, my name is Olgina. I will be answering some questions about mental illness and about my own mental illness. The first question was about if I've ever gotten made fun of for having a mental illness, and if I ever have, how did that make me feel? I would say I haven't really had a bad experience of like face-to-face being made fun of it. I mean, I think a couple of my family members haven't really, like my extended family, haven't really understood exactly what like anxiety and depression is, because they're not from this country. Yeah, other than that, I luckily have like surrounded myself with people who understand what I'm going through, or at least are pretty like empathetic. But obviously if I was being made fun of, that would definitely make what I'm going through a lot harder, because it can already make you feel very alone. I should have started with this, I guess, but I have generalized anxiety disorder and major depressive disorder. I was diagnosed with both of those things around junior year of high school, but I think that that at least my anxiety started around middle school. That's when I think I had my first experience with it, and like being hospitalized and thinking that I couldn't breathe, or that there was something wrong with me because I felt like short of breath, but then they figured out that it was just anxiety. So I'm almost 22 years old now, and it started, well, I was diagnosed when I was 16, and I also started taking medication for it when I was 16, and I've been on medication ever since. Okay, so the next question is how I would change society's reaction and the stigma around mental illness. And I think that we have been progressing toward that. I think people are a lot more open than like when I was younger or earlier on having anxiety and depression. Even in high school, I feel like I really wasn't open about it. And yeah, I feel like people are coming forward and are just like sharing their story, or just being a lot more open about their experience, and realizing that there are so many people who are going through the same thing. And it definitely helps knowing that other people are going through the same thing and feel the same way, and that not everybody is always like really happy. And I think that also that our society's kind of been making self-care like a more important thing, because it's extremely hard, especially in college, I feel like, or in like adult life, because everybody's busy, or at least everybody, like being busy is seen as like a good thing, so people don't really make time for themselves, and they don't realize how important it is to have like quiet time and just time with yourself. So yeah. Okay, the last question is about what would you tell people about your strength? And I would say that it's okay to not always be strong, but I think that like having hope is one of the most important things, and just like having hope that you will get better, and that there are things to look forward to, and just like days and moments and experiences to look forward to. I actually, on my phone, I write down like things to look forward to, because I don't know, it's just really nice to have something to keep you going. And also just like having goals in mind are important. Even if all you want to do that day is just cry or be with people that you love. But yeah, I would just say that know how strong you are, even like the littlest things. Like, we think that doing something huge makes you strong, or doing something like heroic, but that's not true. I don't know. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Shakia Barrett. I have severe depression, severe anxiety, psychosis, also known as psychotic disorder, and I have hallucinations. I was diagnosed, and this all started my whole journey when I was in 8th grade, literally until now. I have mental, I have a mental illness. I don't want to be called brave or anything like that. I'm just me, and I'm doing what I can to spread awareness and just let people know that even if you have an illness, it is okay. It is okay to be yourself. And I know society could, the people, in this world could be cruel and mean, but I just want you to know to never just hide your true self. And even if you have an illness, no matter how much I do hate it, it is a part of me, and I learned to accept it and then to fight it and then to just be confused with it, frustrated with it, and everything above. But I'm here to answer the questions, so here we go. But first, when I was younger, this all started when I was in 8th grade. My mom would call me to every appointments, every visits I have, everything. She was always there, and I want to say thank you, Mom, if you're watching. Thank you for always being there by my side. And then I told her last year, and I made a video on my YouTube channel called How Life Is Living with Mental Illness. I asked her all the illnesses that I have, because when she came with me, everything they had and said, I didn't really know much of it. I was in 8th grade, She told me certain stuff, you shouldn't share with the world. You shouldn't be open-minded with, because where you work, people look at that. But fast forward to now, I wouldn't want to work anywhere if they don't have you. They don't want to hire you based upon certain illnesses you have. I don't think that's right, and I would never work somewhere if they ever did that. But also, for those that you don't know, there's a lot that I don't know about my illnesses that I have, and also other illnesses out there. So things that you don't know, educate yourself, learn. If you don't know certain illnesses, if people around you, they have certain illnesses, do your educate yourself on the symptoms and the functioning, low, high. Just educate yourself on that, so you know how to react, or if something's happening. Okay, this is happening, this is what I need to do, this is how I support my friend and my loved one. Okay, but for those of you who don't know, psychotic disorders are severe mental disorders that cause abnormal thinking and perceptions. People with psychosis lose touch with reality. Two of the main symptoms are delusions and hallucinations. Like I said before, I have severe depression, severe anxiety, psychosis, also known as psychotic disorder, and I have hallucinations. I don't want to go in brief summary of every single thing, because this video would be probably like hella long. But hallucinations, yes. I see things, I hear things, I hear voices. Sometimes it's my own voice, not even wanting to do or say the things that it is saying. It's, it could be other voices. I see things, and it's just really hard. Because when I speak of this, in my head is just everything that has happened, and just, just racing. But like I said before, my videos, last year, me getting my health insurance was the best thing that ever happened to me, because now I'm on medication. And the reason why I was so scared, and the reason why I wanted it, because my depression and anxiety is at an all-time high, like really, really high. When they're both high, it hits me like random, like this. Like, I could be driving, I could be in a good mood, I could just, be anything, just out of nowhere, I could just be all down. And my anxiety is my mind is just racing, and just every single thing. Only when depression and anxiety is at an all-time high, is when my hallucinations are at the high itself. And that is when I cannot handle it anymore. That is why I said I need medications, because before it was happening like every day, every other hour. And sometimes I can feel when it's coming on, like my anxiety, I can feel myself. But when it gets high, it just hits me. It just hits me. And then when it hits me, I could be like that for an hour, a whole day, 2 hours, 15 minutes. I don't even fight it. It just goes away when it wants to go away. But when it's like that, when it's all-time high, I see things, hallucinations, I see things like planning out to kill myself. Like when I was younger, and now I'd see like a little girl and I would just, harm myself just so she could shut up. I hear the voices. Sometimes it's my voices and I hate it. And it's just thinking like, oh, Kia, cut yourself. Just all these voices and these noises. My anxiety, I fucking hate it. I'm always overthinking. I'm always overstressing every single thing up here. I wouldn't give anybody my brain, my mind, because I don't think no one can last a day in it. I'm always overthinking, overanalyzing every single thing. Jeremiah earlier, he hit it dead on with anxiety. Even though I don't say it publicly out there, we're questioning every single thing that someone would think about us, what they say about us, every single thing. And I hate it. When I hate thinking like that, I hate my anxiety. It's always racing. It's always thinking, always. And I hate it. When I'm on medication, doesn't make it, be gone. Doesn't cure it. It makes it livable. It makes me want to continue living, and because it's not as hectic. Yes, I have my times with depression, anxiety is at all-time high, but it's not as bad how it was before when I'm on medication, and then I see my therapist also as well. So, yeah, I see things, I hear voices. Sometimes it's my own voices. So I'm not going to go so deep into all that, but if you definitely want to know more about that, definitely do your own research, definitely. But when people make fun of you because of your illness, how does it make you feel? No one really knows. I always said there's depression. I always said just, depression and anxiety because, almost everyone knows about that, And no one really knows that I have psychosis, hallucinations. I see and hear things. No one really knows that. But if people were to make fun of me because of my illness, it just says a lot about them. No one can make me feel less than myself but me. I know my worth, and of course the words were hurt, but I know if that person makes fun of me, deep down they're hurting within themselves, they're hurting. So I just try to overlook it, really, and just know no matter what, no one's perfect. Something you want to change how society sees people with a mental illness. What I want to change, there's some people out there who don't think mental illness is real, mental health. People don't believe it, or people don't want to believe it. But it's real. It's important to talk about it. It's real to know that there's people out there, walking by that you don't even know has it. Like I said, society wears a mask, and we need to stop wearing masks. So something I want to change, I just want people to know that mental illnesses don't have a certain race, gender, age. No one looks a certain way that you could tell. Something that we fight eternally within ourselves up here. It's like a battle you fight within yourself damn near every fucking day. And it is really, really hard. Just how I want to change is how society sees people with mental illness. Of course, having mental illness, it's negative, it could be negative, but I want us to see it as a positive way, how to support those that have it, and people who don't know about it, make fun of it. What can we do to get them to understand, and to, stop making fun of people who do have mental illnesses. So how I like to change is how people look, for others who have mental illnesses, and obviously we came a long way from what we are now. We came a long way, people, you know, speaking about it publicly and stuff like that, but we need to do more. We definitely do. What do you want to tell others about your strength and defining others because of their illnesses? What I would like to tell others, is that we are not defined by our mental illness. Like I always say, you're not defined by your past, only if you let it define you. Yes, I do hate having a mental illness, but the person I am today, part of that is because of my mental illness. How strong I am is because of my mental illness. I have learned to cope with it. I have learned to accept it, to deal with it. I have learned to love it sometimes. I've learned all these things because it's part of me. I have to. But sometimes I have my days. I have my moments. Sometimes in a day you can win. Sometimes I try my hardest to fight it. Or sometimes I just like, okay, it'll go away when it wants to go away. Because when I fight it, that's when it gets worse. I am happy and I am blessed that I am on medication. I'm seeing my therapist. I got the help that I need. So what can I say about my strengths? That my mental illness made me the person that I am today. It's a battle, but it's a battle that I want to win each time it happens, that I want to keep going and to show people out there that we could do this. I know it's hard. My name is Shakia Barrett. I have severe anxiety, I have severe depression, psychosis, also known as psychotic disorder. I have hallucinations. Yes, I see things, I hear things, but every day I keep going. Because I have to. For me, I choose happiness every day, no matter how hard that is. So, yes, I have a mental illness, but it does not define me. Yes, it is hard, but I'm going to keep going. I have to. So, hope you guys learn a lot from all these videos that you guys are seeing so far.
People make fun of you for your mental illness. How does it make you feel? I have never had someone make fun of me for my mental illness and the things that I struggle with. I would more so call it a lack of understanding. So for example, my parents, I once told them that, because I wasn't talking to them for a while and they were kind of wondering what was going on with me, and I was like, you know, this is what I'm struggling with. I have depression, I have anxiety, and it was kind of like there's no such thing as depression, there's no such thing as anxiety. You need to just get over it. You need to go out into the world, expose yourself, put yourself in those uncomfortable positions, and just pretty much get over it. There's also no such thing as antidepressants because, you know, for them they're bad for you, or they're gonna make you worse, or so on. So yeah, there wasn't really anyone kind of making fun of it, but more so just a lack of understanding, and a lack of trying to understand. And I find that's a very big issue with people who are struggling with a mental illness, is that people are just not educated enough to really truly understand, and that kind of goes with people making fun of it as well, because it's just, again, a lack of understanding. What do you want to tell others about your strengths and defining others because of their illness? So coming out of depression and anxiety, not coming out, but learning to cope better with it day by day, I'll kind of talk about the strengths that I have created for myself. So kind of dealing with depression and anxiety day by day. I've created strengths that are definitely being patient. I would for sure call that a strength, because beforehand I didn't know how to be patient with myself. I would just wake up, give up on myself, and I wouldn't give myself a chance to feel happy or to want to get better or to take the medication that I needed to take in order to feel better. And then doing so, you know, my antidepressants made me worse before better. I didn't see the effects of my anxiety medication right away, and I would give up really fast and then stop taking them because I'm like, they're not working. So patience was a really big part in my recovery and just learning to be patient with myself and know that in time good things will come and good things will happen. Yeah, I think honestly that's my biggest and only strength I kind of want to talk about, is just to be patient, because I think it's completely and totally important to remember to be patient with yourself.